Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Big Four podcast. We got a great podcast ahead of you. We'll start with Michigan, the Wolverines, with a win over an upset win on the road at Nebraska. Reactions from this game?
I mean, just Mike and I were saying that Nebraska was going to give them a tough game. They only lost by 3. I mean, tough year for Scott Frost. I mean, they've been playing all right, and they have little things go wrong every game, it seems like. I mean, they had a drive here at the end of the game, and Martinez fumbles it like the bum he is. And this is probably going to get him fired, which is unfortunate because I think they've made some significant strides this year. But, hey, at the end of the day, what separates the good teams and the good coaches from the bad ones is that you win these close games and you win them consistently. And Michigan and Harbaugh obviously haven't been doing that, but maybe they're turning the corner here the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying this about Nebraska all season. This is a talented team.
Give me a break.
No, I'm not going to say what you said. I'm saying this is a pretty talented team that is horribly coached, gags in every big moment, and their quarterback sucks.
You've been saying every time Mike and I say that Nebraska is a tough team, you always say they suck.
They're not a tough team because they're going to give you the game, just like they gave Michigan the game. Frankly, I thought Michigan played pretty well. Jeez.
Good.
Nebraska, I thought had a ridiculous performance in the second half offensively. So credit to them, especially in the third quarter. Really impressive. Their game plan coming out of half, but short-lived. I thought this is a game that Michigan teams of the past would lose, but this Michigan team, very resilient, down with 8 minutes to go, and they come back and score, and down again with 3 minutes left. They go down and kick a field goal. They get a turnover, get the game-winning field goal. Cade McNamara, really over the last 2 games, I believe has proven himself to be a legitimate Big Ten quarterback that can lead a good team to like 10 wins. This team can win 10 games with Cade McNamara at quarterback.
Where's the 10 wins coming from?
They can win 10 games. What do you mean? They win every game except for Penn State, Ohio State.
I mean, they're 6-0. You beat Northwestern, Indiana, and Maryland. Then you just have.
Oh, you think they're going to beat Northwestern?
I was hoping to beat Northwestern.
It's a rivalry game.
And really, the running game still steady with Corum and Haskins, but the emergence of the passing game the last couple of weeks has been a huge step for this team. We were talking about in the first few weeks that the passing game is a little underwhelming. They've come around, and I think this team, other than their games against Penn State and Ohio State, should be winning the rest of their games.
Yeah, it comes down to Nebraska not starting the game well. I thought, for the most part, Nebraska was the better team in the second half. Well, they definitely were the better team in the second half. And then Martinez does what he does. They're kind of in a negative, positive feedback loop with him because they need him to play great to win. But then he tries to play hero ball, and then he fumbles the ball trying to get an extra 2 yards, which is not ideal, obviously.
He's terrible. I am so tired of the Adrian Martinez.
He single-handedly had Nebraska.
No, he didn't. He made wide open throws.
He's the most physically gifted quarterback in the Big Ten.
Michigan's defense is a little suspect, I will say that. But Martinez made some wide open throws. He sucks. He's been a choker his entire career. He makes ill-advised throws, bad timing turnovers. He's awful.
No, he's not awful. He's the most physically gifted quarterback in the Big Ten.
Yeah, that's gotten him.
He's got all the tools.
He's been an extreme disappointment in his college career.
The team, Nebraska's good. I'd give Frost another year. I don't know if Trev Alberts is going to, but I would. I would give him another year. Listen, this team they're physically ready to play in the Big Ten. They were better than Michigan. They were better than Michigan State. They should have won both games. Obviously, you got to win them at some point. But I don't know if you'd rather lose in this way, but at least you know that you're as good as those teams.
I'm sorry, but who would you rather have, Scott Frost or Matt Campbell or Luke Fickell? I mean,
They aren't
Luke
getting either.
Fickell and Matt Campbell are on a different level.
They're not
Are you
either.
kidding me? If the
No,
Nebraska job
0%
opens, they'll
chance.
both want it. They'll both be all over it.
0% chance. Nebraska's barely better than Iowa State at this point. Are you kidding me?
Okay.
Yeah, but they have more resources. They can pay. Probably the only other big jobs that are going to be available. USC.
There's no way. You can't push
USC, and neither of them are going
and
there.
expect Matt Campbell to come in. It's not going to happen. And Luke
could get
Fickell
Fickell.
has no chance. Luke Fickell takes the job. No chance.
Why?
Just
Both of them would be chomping at the bit to get the job. The Nebraska
zero.
job.
No.
It's going to be the second or third best job on the market,
You
depending on if LSU fires Orgeron.
Nebraska is not a top of the line job in college football. Not even close.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
No, it's not. No, it's
Yes,
not.
it is.
It's
Yes,
not
it
even
is.
in the top 20. I think I
Oh
had
my
it.
God, that's ridiculous.
I had it at 24 or 25 when I did my
absurd.
rankings. Should I bring up the rankings now if I can find them?
No.
But anyway, here's the thing about listen, they're physically ready to play in the Big Ten. I give them another year. I give them another year. As for Michigan, that was a good win. I think they had to show me that they could take a punch and come back from it. And I think they did that. But again, I thought Nebraska probably would have won the game if you didn't fumble the ball there. So I mean, not ideal. Where did I have Nebraska? I had Nebraska 25th in terms of coaching jobs in the country. You want to hear some of the jobs I had in front of it? I had
Not really.
Arizona State in front of it, Oklahoma State, Washington,
that list is just
Wisconsin,
invalid.
Virginia Tech, Auburn,
This is really
Michigan.
bad.
Jesus
This is really
Christ.
bad. You're embarrassing the podcast.
Yeah, that's not good.
Okay, so no coach has succeeded at Nebraska in the past 25 years, and you're
No
expecting.
coach.
Why is that? Why is no one
Can't know
succeeded
how
at
good
Nebraska?
coaches.
No, it's way more than that. It's hard to win there. It's really hard to win there. Like really hard.
What's his face got him in the top 10 a couple years ago?
Pelini?
Bo
Well,
Pelini.
they
Ohio
pushed Pelini
State
out
beat
the
him by
door.
70.
I think that was Mike Riley, but he
Maybe
wasn't
it was
there.
Mike Riley. Oh
No,
my
he
God,
did-
I'm looking at Nebraska. They have more rivalries than Minnesota.
Anyways, okay. Michigan, we'll see the real test on the 30th. We'll see if they're actually a good team or they just played a team that choked. Because their defense did not look good in the second half, that's for sure. Okay. Move on to the
There's a difference between this defense and the Don Brown defense. Don Brown would go into this game, and Michigan probably would have won this game like 25-0 or something, because he would have blitzed he would just blitz Martinez, and Martinez would have panicked because he sucks. But you go into a game against a better team like Michigan State or Penn State or Ohio State, and that just doesn't work. So I still like the scheme much better than what Don Brown had.
I mean, no crap.
Well,
I'd rather have I don't know, I'd rather have Steve Belichick call my defenses. I'd rather have anybody call my defenses.
Sometimes you're going to give up
Don
20
Brown.
points to Nebraska, but you can exchange that by not giving up 62 points to Ohio State.
Well, I don't think that's how it works. I just think Michigan's defense isn't that good this year. I think they're the most overrated unit in the country. I didn't want to say that on the podcast, but I'm going to say it. They're the most overrated unit in the country, and they have the most overrated player in the country. He didn't do shit.
Best player in the country.
He didn't do anything against Nebraska.
The best player. No, look at his Pro Football Focus nerd stats.
Do you know how many sacks that Michigan State had against Nebraska? 7. Do you know how many Michigan had against Nebraska? 1.
I don't care.
1 sack. And Michigan State had 7.
We won the game in regulation. You won it in overtime. That means Michigan's better.
Fair enough. You're right. Next game, Michigan State actually is better than Michigan because we beat Rutgers by 18, and Michigan only beat them by 7 at home.
Well, that was a letdown game for us.
So reactions from this game? Yeah, letdown from Northern Illinois.
Yeah, good win for Michigan State. They keep chugging along. Rutgers is improving year by year, but Michigan State Mel Tucker's got this team humming at the right time right now. I mean, obviously, going into the tougher part of their schedule here, you got Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State all coming up in the last 6 weeks. They're already bowl eligible, so their season, I think, is already successful, Mel Tucker, but he's almost been too successful that the expectations are through the roof now. I think if they get,
Wouldn't say they're through the roof. We'd be fine with 9-3.
you got to get to 9 wins. I think you got to get to 9 wins, and if you lose to Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State, people say, "Hey, you're not at that
You
level
lose to
yet.
Michigan, he
You're not
should be fired.
expected." No. I mean, if you get to 10 wins, that's incredible. But if you get to 8 or 9, it should be 9. You should be able to beat Indiana, Purdue, and Maryland. So you get to 9 wins. I think that's a very successful season. You get a good bowl game. Maybe you'll be at the Fenway Bowl and the Quick Lane Bowl. That's a classic one. And you call it a season. Go next year and build on this past year.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan State, this was their 3rd trap game in a row, and their 4th trap game in a row is coming up this week.
Yep.
Every game,
This is the biggest trap game of the season.
every game Michigan State plays is an incredible trap game because and then the opponent gets played up by Mike right before they play him. You know, Rutgers. The Rutgers is a team that Mike was saying all season wasn't going to make a bowl. Didn't have a pulse on offense. Terrible team.
They are bad. They are a bad team.
He comes out of the podcast last week. Well, I did my research, and let me tell you, Rutgers is a bowl team. This is going to be a tough game.
I still think they'll probably make a bowl because their schedule is really easy.
He changed his tune. I've been talking to him this week. I've been hearing from my sources. He has now changed his thinking on Indiana. We've all been down on Indiana all season, and he's been saying now this week, Indiana's not dead. This is a good team. He's been saying that this week. So you know where this is going.
Well, he's gonna pull an SEC here, and when they beat him, he's gonna be like, "Oh, they were a top 10 team. That's a top 10 win since they were ranked in the top 10 to start the year."
But yeah, overall, Michigan State just takes care of business. Not really much to say here. Isaiah Pacheco, my guy, good game. 11 rushes, 47 yards, best running back in the Big Ten. But yeah.
Well, that car together in Indiana is pretty good.
Yeah. Good one for Michigan State.
Yeah, I mean, this was Tucker's worst day as a head coach at Michigan State. There were a couple ridiculous calls, a couple of I don't even know how to explain it. Detroit Lions like clock management is maybe the term I'd use. That was embarrassing.
Are you all in yet?
No.
Each week you keep saying, if they win this week, I'll be all in. I'll get all
no,
because
I didn't realize
they win, and you're like, "Oh, this wasn't a good win. They didn't play well."
Here's the thing. I think Rutgers coming off those 2 physical games, Michigan, Ohio State. I think they were a little emotionally and physically spent, and I think we took advantage of it. But we kept them in the game for way too long, and that was mostly on coaching because there are a couple. I mean, you can't punt from the opponent 33. On 4th and 3. And then it goes in the end zone and you get 14 yards. That was one of the worst calls in football history. That was embarrassing. That was a complete joke. And we can't have those mistakes when we play bigger teams, bigger games. And we might not be able to make those mistakes this week because this Indiana team, Tom Allen's a good motivator.
Here we go, Luke.
Yeah.
They still got a good defense.
Classic.
Look at the teams they've lost to. All 3 teams they've lost to are top 10 teams. This is a good football team. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I was happy. I think we're a little too reliant on the big play right now. We got to be able to move the ball down the field methodically at times, and we've done it a little bit, but I'm still concerned about our red zone offense. It's just not been good enough, not been creative enough, and that might hurt us down the stretch. Defense has been much better the past couple games. And I know we let Zappe throw for 520, whatever, but Zappe's the best quarterback in the country. So I'm not too worried about that. Well, if Bailey Zappe was in the Big Ten, he'd be the best quarterback in the Big Ten. It's not even close. He's the best quarterback we're going to play this year. The throws he made. But anyway, yeah, I'm happy. I'm not going to be mad over an 18-point win, but I'm not overly thrilled. I'll be overly thrilled if we win tomorrow, which we'll see. All right, Ohio State names the score against the bad Maryland team. Reactions from this game.
Yeah, well, it's a bad Maryland team now, but in about 3 weeks when Michigan State plays them, Mike Loxley's going to have them humming, according to Mike.
Well, actually, he's a good recruiter. He is. You never know.
Yeah, it's a good win. Obviously, the offenses look pretty good all year, but the defense is improving. And that, like I said, when we started this stretch against the bad teams, is that it's just the defense needs to slowly improve. And so then once we get into the stretch against Penn State, Michigan State, Ohio, and Michigan, they're a somewhat legitimate defense who can make some stops when you need to get off the field. And they look good against Maryland. It's just Maryland. We have another test in 2 weeks against Indiana, which will be a little bit more of a test. And then we go have Penn State at home. But I'm confident in this team. This team is looking a lot better than the first two weeks of the year. They're slowly getting better, and they're going to peak at the end of the year, hopefully, like usual. And that's kind of how Ohio State's been over the last 5 or 6 years, is that you slowly build and peak at the end of the year.
Yeah, the Big Ten season's over. They might as well end it right now, because once again, we already know who
we should pull a Michigan and say we have COVID issues and we don't have to play another game.
Yeah,
and they'll put us in the Big Ten championship.
Over. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's already over. And once again, college football, you know exactly who's going to win.
Thank God, Chris, that it doesn't decide the results of the games, because the season ought to be over.
Well, the season is over. Ohio State's going to run the table. They're going to win the Big Ten. So it's as simple as
you got to play the games. You got to play the games.
Yeah, they're not going to be entertaining because they're going to be rolling everybody. So, good win for Ohio State against a really good team.
Is that why you think Ohio State's great? Because you think Maryland's good and they killed them?
Maryland's a good team.
Maryland's a 4-8 football team.
Well, in about 3 weeks, Chris will be saying Maryland's horrible, and Mike will be saying they're the best team that we've ever seen on the face of the earth.
Listen, Maryland's going to beat Minnesota, Indiana, and Rutgers, and all they have to do is win one game against Penn State, Michigan State, or Michigan, and they're 8-4. They're going to do it.
I told you when Maryland was 4-0 that they're going to finish 4-8, and look what's happening. It's starting.
Yeah, they lost to Ohio State and Iowa.
Yeah, but the way they lost, they weren't even competitive. They weren't even close to competitive. Tulsa was competitive with Ohio State.
Listen, they have Maryland has a low bar for success.
Colorado State was a trick play away from beating Iowa.
No one's died for Maryland this year, so that's a successful year.
Well, I mean, their receiver basically died on the field.
All right,
but I get what you're saying.
Has really come around for Ohio State.
Yeah, I don't know if he actually had a shoulder issue, because ever since they took that week off and they said he had some sort of shoulder issue and he came back, he's looked a lot better. He's not missing high anymore. So I don't know what it is, but
yeah, Ohio State, they're just going to run the table, win the Big Ten. It's already over. It's the nature of college football. You already know who's going to win everything. So
yeah, which is why Alabama lost last week.
Well, Alabama's
the best team
in the country. We were saying that. Georgia was. We've been saying that. I've been saying that since the beginning of the season. Georgia's going to win.
You said there's 4 teams that have no chance of losing every year.
I didn't say that. I did say there's 2 teams. I did guarantee Georgia and Alabama will be in the national championship game, and I'm sticking to that.
And that's not going to happen.
Well, Alabama's going to have 2 losses after this week. So
no, they're going to beat. First of all, they're going to beat Georgia.
Then Georgia's not that good. This Alabama team's not that good. You can't lose to Alabama.
Well, yeah, but the thing with this Alabama team is
Alabama and Georgia are both 12-1, then they're both going to be in no matter who's 10.
Well, Alabama's not beating Georgia, so.
Yep, they are, and
there's a 0% chance.
They're the 2 best
Georgia
teams, and they're going to be meeting in the national championship game, because the 2 best teams are meeting, and you already know who they are.
But the thing is, it wasn't even a bad loss for Alabama, because they lost to Texas A&M, and Texas A&M beat Alabama this year. And Alabama's the best team in the country, so you lost to a team that beat the best team in the country. So it's not a bad loss.
I think Ohio State, going back to the game, I think this Ohio State team is better equipped to win the national championship than the last two teams. I don't think they're as good as the last two teams, but I just think college football is a lot. At least the teams aren't as good as they aren't as top heavy. There's no LSU with Joe Burrow, no Alabama with Mac Jones.
Yep.
None of that this
There
year.
are 2 teams this year.
Ohio State's got a great shot if they can make the playoff. I think
They don't.
Ohio
They have
State.
no
Ohio
chance.
State's got by far the best offense
They
in
have
college
no
football.
chance. You already know who the best teams are because that's the nature of the sport.
Shut the fuck up.
It's true.
Ohio State is
you can't move up.
Ohio State
You
is
can't
as
move
talented as those two teams. They are as talented, if not more.
No, they're just. I mean, they're just not there. You just already know because the sport sucks. It needs to change.
Ohio State's got the best offense in college football. It's not even close. There's no team in the stratosphere of Ohio State's offense right now.
No, they don't have to face the SEC defenses every week.
Defense doesn't matter in college football. It doesn't.
Are you kidding me?
Georgia's not going to win shit with Stetson Bennett at quarterback. I love the
Georgia's
mail.
national
They're not going to
championship.
win
That's a
shit with him at
guarantee. They're the best
quarterback.
team in the country. Everybody knows that they're winning the national
Are you
championship.
kidding me? Maryland's got a great, talented defense. Michael Locksley is a great recruiter.
Listen, Maryland's an offensive team, and they were screwed in this game by the officiating.
I know, Chris. I know you say how bad Clemson is, and they almost lost to Clemson. Georgia did.
They didn't.
So I mean, give me a break.
They
That's
didn't.
just
They
the
won.
dumbest thing I've ever
They
heard.
didn't. They didn't lose to Clemson. They won.
Well, if they were so great, they would have blown them out.
Nope, they're not. They're not one of those
What do you
teams.
mean, no?
Their team's gonna shut them down.
Clemson's a bad team, according to you.
They are a bad team.
Then how come they beat them by 7?
Listen, it doesn't matter how many points you win by until you win the game.
Bull crap.
Why did Ohio State struggle with Tulsa?
This is a renaissance
We
season.
won by 30.
This is a renaissance season. Ohio State's fine. Maryland's going to go 4-8, and they should fire their coach because he's the worst coach in college football. And I don't think it's even close. The dude is horrible. I don't know who decided to hire this man. You had Randy Edsall. You fired him. That was a terrible decision. And then you fired DJ Durkin, who's a great coach.
Yeah,
and then you
Randy
bring in this
Edsall
guy.
did so well at UConn.
Yeah, listen, UConn's a tougher job than Maryland's. Now who's Maryland going to get? Luke Fickell? Because according to Luke,
No,
shitty programs are going to get these great coaches.
no, Maryland's not going to get Luke Fickell because they don't have any historical program. They're not a big team.
Guess what? History doesn't mean shit.
Maryland should
It
go
does
after Les
matter.
Miles.
If history meant shit, then Georgia Tech would be a top level program right now.
Maryland
not
should go
how it
after
works.
Les Miles.
What?
Whatever. Well, the problem is they don't play on grass, so we can't eat the grass before we do. Will Les
All right.
Miles go back to LSU?
No, he's going to Maryland.
Chris, you know who I think LSU is going to get? I think they're going to go after your guy. I know
Okay.
you've been talking about how much he deserves a job lately, and how
Who?
much anybody would be lucky to have him. And that's your guy, John Gruden.
I think he'd be a good
I
fit.
know how highly you talk about him, how much you respect him as not only as a coach but as a person.
Yeah, John Gruden's had a tough week.
This is just he's better at pulling an Urban Meyer than Urban Meyer.
Then
Urban
he'd
Meyer's
hire
trying to get
he'd
fired
hire
so he
Gary
can go to
Patterson as his
USC.
defensive coordinator.
Urban Meyer's been trying to get fired so he can go to USC. Your guy that you speak so highly of. and
John
respect
Gruden,
as a
yeah,
human being
John
and as a
Gruden was trying to
person.
get
John
fired.
Gruden now going to LSU.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, moving on. Iowa beats Penn State. Iowa would have lost if they didn't get lucky. A law of averages helping the Hawkeyes, or they're going to hurt the
Sean Clifford
Hawkeyes later.
going down. This was a classic Iowa win. This is a classic Iowa season where they somehow go 11-1, 12-0, make it to the Big Ten championship game, and then lose to Ohio State. Actually, the classic Iowa is that they somehow the season that they always have go 11-1, 12-0 always somehow lines up with the year Ohio State doesn't make the Big Ten championship game once every 5 or 6 years. So I don't know how they pull that off.
Well, because it happened once.
No, but it's happened twice.
It's happened once.
No, twice. Obviously, they should be disqualified for the Big Ten anyway because they have an unfair advantage in all their home games. But
yeah,
they've
and
been playing well.
Gruden's going to hire Ferentz as his offensive coordinator. He's got Patterson at the DC, and he's going to hire Chris
Ferentz and
Doyle.
Jackson. That's right. And the old Michigan coach is going to be a strength and conditioning coach.
Oh, that's right.
Um,
Doctor, drop your
but,
pants.
good win for Iowa. At the end of the day, a win's a win, especially over a Penn State team. I think Penn State has a chance. I think they might be favorites going in every single game, including maybe not the Ohio State game because it's at Ohio State, but that would probably be close to a pick'em game, and I wouldn't be comfortable. They're the one team. Even though we typically beat them, I'm not comfortable. I'll tell you that.
No, Penn State's not that good, even with Clifford.
Yeah, this game, good win for Iowa. Mike's been talking about the law of averages, but listen, Mike also compares every team that's ever existed in college football to 2015 Michigan State, and this is a great comparison right here.
Talk about comparing every team. You've done that all year. Every team you compared to 2015 Michigan State.
Yeah,
first you said Oklahoma was, and now you're saying Iowa is.
Well, both of them are. Iowa is the better example because they find ways.
Or Iowa is 2015 Iowa.
Nope, Iowa. 4. They get 4 turnovers. That's what their defense does. They turn you over. So you got it. That is a skill that their defense has. They turn the opposing team over.
Turnovers are 70% luck, 30% skill.
No, not with this team. That's their defense is based on. And as for the quarterback situation, would Penn State have won if Clifford stayed in? Maybe. But
by double digits.
As far as I'm concerned, that's not Iowa's problem. That's James Franklin's problem for having a quarterback 2 who can't throw the ball. So that's
because his backup transferred to Kentucky.
Yep.
And is starting.
Well, that's Franklin's fault for having a backup quarterback who cannot throw. I don't know how that's possible at Penn State.
I'm convinced he just threw a wide receiver there. I'm dead serious. That was not a quarterback. It just wasn't.
Well, Ohio State's so-called greatest quarterback of all time can throw. J.T. Barrett.
Oh, give me a break.
He could only throw against Michigan State.
You can only throw his freshman year.
Very good game for Spencer Petras. He's coming around.
What did he start? 2 for 9, 2 for 10?
Yeah, well, he finished well. He's coming around. And Iowa, just one of those years. They got by this game. This was probably the hardest
Pack
game.
it in.
They're going to win out, and they'll see Ohio State.
No, they're going to lose to like some random team. They're going to lose to Illinois. They're going to do what that Wisconsin team did a couple years ago and lose to Illinois.
So they'll see you in Indianapolis, Luke, and we'll see what happens there. But good one for Iowa.
I'm surprised you even know about Indianapolis, Chris.
Yeah.
Penn State was the better team. They should have won the game. Iowa got lucky. I don't know why you stormed the field there. That's kind of embarrassing.
What a joke storming the field is becoming.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, that's just what
you win a game over a top 75 team. You storm the field. You should not. You should very rarely storm the field like once every 4 years.
Well, Clemson storms the field after every win. Iowa. Listen, the way they play, they're going to be in a lot of close games at the end of the year, and maybe the law of averages hurts them in one of those games. I think they're going to lose a game at the end of the year just based on the law of averages, entirely based on the law of averages. And maybe it's Minnesota, maybe it's Nebraska, perhaps. I mean, that's the law of averages bowl between Nebraska and Iowa, the two teams that have been killed. One's been killed by the law of averages, and one has been just building up a huge deficit in the law of averages. It's going to hurt Iowa at some point. We'll see. For Penn State, disappointing. And this loss doesn't end their season, but I mean, it's not good. Because obviously I have a
I thought it was good they lost this game. I thought they were pretty happy about that.
Well, I have a motto that says, listen, there's no moral victories. They're just like when Nebraska was tooting their horn after losing to Oklahoma by 7. I mean, you should have won the game. Penn State, even without the quarterback, should have won the game. They were up 17-3 when he got hurt, and they lost the game. Defense was good, but not good enough. they got one more game. They got a bye this week, and then they got home against Illinois next week, and then Ohio State. And I mean, we don't know anything about Sean Clifford right now, but if he's back, I still think they lose by double digits because I don't think Penn State's that great. I think they're just they do a lot of things good, but there's nothing they do great. Iowa, they have a great defense and everything else is bad. And a great punter. They have a great punter too. But everything else is not great. Their offense blows, quarterback blows. Iowa's not that great of a team. And I liked Iowa coming into the year, but they're way overrated right now. Okay. The Big Ten scoreboard. Here we got only one game to talk about, actually, because we talked about all the other games. So Wisconsin defeats Illinois. Reactions from this barn burner.
What a great win for Wisconsin. I mean, they need to get a win somewhere, right? I mean, Brett Bielema's got a long way to go in Illinois. I'll tell you that. Lovie Smith left that place in an absolute horrible
Let me
place.
tell you something
Absolute
about
dump.
Lovie Smith. I cannot believe they
And I
fired him.
got Brett Bielema's good.
Okay.
Was
What a
that?
great quarterback battle here in this game. Graham Mertz, 10 for 19 for 100 yards and a pick. That's a good game. That's actually a really good game for Graham Mertz. And Arthur Sitkowski, 8 for 27, a Brian Lewerke game for Mr. Sitkowski. But, a good win for Wisconsin. Illinois, not a good team, and they still beat Nebraska.
Wisconsin is going to look probably, I mean, my God. This was a game, I saw a lot of people say this game was a possible trap game. So
A lot of people are
Come
saying
on.
that. He's got a lot of people, Luke. He knows a lot of people.
Yeah, that's right.
No, I
His
saw a
sources
lot
he
of
always
people.
talks about.
For some reason, I saw a lot of fan pages who, the same fan pages that picked Western Michigan to beat Michigan. They were saying Illinois has a shot in the game. But obviously Illinois, I don't know, the bottom two teams in the Big Ten are going to battle them out the last game of the year for the land of Lincoln. That's going to determine who might be the worst team in Power 5 besides Kansas. I mean, and Vanderbilt. But my God.
And UMass.
That's bad. That's really bad. Illinois not even putting up a point. I know Wisconsin's defense is good, but their secondary is not great. So you got to be able to throw the ball on them. All right. Move on to reactions from, we got a couple games here. We'll start with the Red River Rivalry game. Of course, Texas gets up big and Oklahoma comes back and wins the game. Reactions.
Yeah. Oklahoma is pissing me off this year. I want them to lose so bad because they do not deserve half the wins they have this year. And it's really pissing me off. And I mean, they beat Tulane by 5. They beat Nebraska by 7 when Nebraska should have won that game. They barely sneak by West Virginia by 3. They don't even beat Kansas State by a touchdown. And then they go down big to, credit for coming back. I mean, Texas, what a choke job by Texas. But God damn it. Oklahoma is absolutely pissed. I'm actively rooting against Oklahoma because of how much they're pissing me off this year. I keep saying every week that they suck and that they're gonna lose, and every week they somehow find a way to do it. This might be the 2015 Michigan State team of destiny, where somehow they find a way to win every single game, even though they don't deserve it, and sneak into the playoff and they lose by 40 points.
Yeah, this team reminds me a lot of 2015 Michigan State. Really a great comeback win. We talked about it last week, how they were sneaking, just barely winning these games. And
suck. I mean, they have a quarterback controversy now.
No, they have a quarterback now, period. Because Spencer Rattler sucks.
I
Caleb
agree
Williams
with
is
that.
the starter. Rattler is a complete joke, one of the biggest disappointments in college football history. And in terms of Texas,
Chris, you know what his QBR was? Rattler?
What?
11.4.
That's pretty good.
It's not as good as Arthur Sitkowski.
In terms of Texas, Steve Sarkisian still unable to reverse the curse of the gaggers of the University of Texas. So, I mean, just an embarrassing way to lose a game. up 38-20. You just can't lose like that. Embarrassing for Texas.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It was embarrassing for Texas, but at least the way they lost, at least it showed a little glimmer of hope. And I'm the guy.
No
who says you
excuses.
can't take
It's your
moral
biggest
victory.
rival. It's your biggest rival.
Yeah, I agree. But at least
Is
he
that a
can
moral
use this.
victory?
Sark can use this in recruiting. He'll be
Is it a
fine.
moral
Texas will
victory?
be good. This is a big game this week for Texas. They got to win this week against Oklahoma State. I think they will. But listen, look at Texas' schedule end of the year. It's very easy. Probably their toughest games at Iowa State. And then besides that, it's just a lot of nobodies. They got through the toughest part of their schedule early. And Texas might finish 10-2, and then maybe you try to get the revenge in the Big 12 championship game. That's got to be your goal.
They have 2 more guaranteed losses on their schedule.
Right. Okay. Well, Texas, the defense is a little better. I mean, it sucked in the second half, obviously. And for Oklahoma, yeah. I mean, did you see the video of Spencer Rattler on his high school team, just absolutely shit talking this kid? You see that?
No.
I did see it, yes.
Yeah. Well, I think that kind of shows the kind of person that he is. That he's the type of guy you just don't want to play for.
Well,
type of guy you don't want to play with.
You know what? Who he reminds me of? That point guard from TCU a couple years ago.
Okay.
Jalen something.
Yeah. Jalen Fisher. I wonder why. Anyway,
I'll
Oklahoma.
have to get a side by side.
Notice how Oklahoma got way better when they put Williams in the game. And I think Rattler's gone. I think he'll either quit the team and go to the
He'll be in
draft,
the transfer portal.
or he'll be in the transfer portal. But
Who's
he
gonna
went
draft
from
him? No one's gonna. He's not gonna be a first round pick. He's not gonna be a second round pick. No one's gonna take a chance on him. I mean,
Yeah,
some
he
will
went
go
from-
later rounds.
he went from the number 1 overall pick to start the year to nothing, basically. I don't think I've seen anything like that. That's just crazy. But yeah, Oklahoma, I think this is going to help Oklahoma. I think they're going to be a much better football team with Williams. I think his running ability helps also. I just think he's a better player than Spencer Rattler. So Oklahoma, they should probably win out. Maybe Iowa State's kind of the team, and I still don't trust Oklahoma State, but I think Iowa State's still a team you got to worry about at this point. I know they got one conference loss, and 2 losses overall, but they're still a dangerous team. And Oklahoma State is overrated, but Oklahoma should be fine. They should be fine. They'll probably finish 12-0, maybe lose a game. I just think they're a better team. They're a much better team now with him than they were with Rattler. All right. Shocker of the weekend. A&M defeats Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing though with Alabama, is they have looked horrendous on the road. Horrendous. Both games they played on the road, they have looked really bad. This Texas A&M game, and who did they have? It was a couple weeks ago that they almost lost to. Florida. I mean, the only other kind of road game they had was against Miami. I guess that was more neutral site, and Miami sucks, and so they don't count. But Florida, they did not look great. They barely snuck out a victory there. And then they go back on the road against Texas A&M, and they just, I mean, they almost came back, but Texas A&M really kind of dominated them in that first half of the game, and they did what they needed to do to win the game down at the end of the crunch time when it mattered. So I'm a little concerned about Alabama. I mean, they don't have any big. I mean, you're going to Auburn, and how do they play only 4 road games all year? That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. But you go to Auburn, you have the SEC championship game, and this week is going to be a tough game on the road against Mississippi State. So I'm a little concerned about Alabama. I'm serious.
Yeah, I mean, their defense is a complete joke, to be honest with you. But as Mike says, defense doesn't matter in college football. So Alabama will be fine. They're going to win out, and then Georgia's going to let them win in the SEC championship, so they can both make the playoff. But in terms of this game,
Not how it works.
Texas A&M, that's a good win for Jimbo Fisher. He was saying in the offseason they were going to be beating up on Alabama, and he looked pretty dumb at the time, but he gets the job done. I mean, that's Mike's playoff team right there, Texas A&M.
Yeah, listen, you don't lose to Mississippi State, and maybe they're in there, but they lost to Mississippi State, so it's over for them.
Really, I mean, Zach Calzada has been brutal all season, and all of a sudden he lights it up against Alabama. It says a lot about their defense, and I expect that to be fixed quickly, and I think whatever the spread is against Mississippi State this week, Alabama is definitely going to cover that and more, and just lay a beating on Mississippi State. And I feel bad for Mississippi State because they're going to be on the wrong end of this.
I don't say the best quarterback in the SEC and maybe even in the country.
Yeah, I mean, Mississippi or Texas A&M had the perfect storm of things go their way. How do you beat Alabama? You gotta have your quarterback play great, and he did. He was putting the ball on a dime all game long, hitting his receivers. You have to have some special teams plays. They had a kickoff return for a touchdown, and you have to have some Alabama miscues, and Alabama had plenty of them in this game. And I just don't think this Alabama team they can't really make it as many mistakes as previous teams. Their offense is good, but it's not nearly as good as it was. Their defense, we thought would be better. It wasn't very good last week. I just thought the game plan was bad last week on both sides. They couldn't run the ball in the red zone. They couldn't get the ball in the end zone when they were in the red zone. Just was not a good game. And Alabama, listen, I mean, obviously this week it's going to be a little bit tougher, I think. I mean, usually you expect a Saban team coming off a loss to kind of blow them out, but I don't know the way this Alabama team's been playing. I mean, they look so good against Ole Miss. So maybe this is a fluke, maybe, but doesn't seem like it. The Florida game was surprising because they just couldn't stop the run against Florida. And then this game, they couldn't stop the run or the pass, and that's why they lost. So, all right. How about we just talk quickly about the Heisman Trophy? I know it's kind of early on, but midway through the season, who's your midway Heisman?
I wanted to discuss the Washington State-Oregon State game, Mike.
Oh, we'll do it after.
I know a bunch of people are saying Bijan Robinson. Mike's going like this. I think it's got to go to Kenneth Walker right now. I truly do. And they keep this up, and they end up winning 9-10 games, and he rushes for almost 2,000, 2,500 yards. I think he's got to win the Heisman. What's interesting this year is you don't really have any top-line quarterbacks that are vying for the Heisman, so I think it's kind of more of a classic year. And obviously Spencer Rattler was the favorite at the beginning of the year, and he's kind of played himself out of it. So I think it'll be interesting down the stretch. And Will Rogers, obviously, but his year's next year.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting race. But in my mind, I'm not giving the Heisman Trophy to a running back because that's not an important position. So I am still going to go with Matt Corral, even though he didn't play well against Alabama. I think he'll have a good rest of the season and win this thing.
Jesus Christ. Listen, it's as wide open as it's been in a while.
Mike, did you see your guy Kenny Pickett has the 8th best odds to win the Heisman?
Yeah. That's how I told you. Kenny
3,500.
Pickett's having a good season.
And you know
Great
who's
season.
number 10? Is your other guy, Anthony Brown.
Yeah, Anthony Brown might be benched. We'll see who starts for Oregon tonight against Cal, but it might not be Anthony Brown. I have some sources there. But anyway, man, I don't know. I don't think Kenneth Walker's going to win it because I don't think the offensive line's good enough. We saw against Nebraska, he struggled because the offensive line got blown up all game. And listen, the offensive line's okay. It's probably middle of the pack in the Big Ten, but it's still not good enough where he's going to get wide open running lanes. So I think Bijan Robinson's got a good chance because I think he'll be able to run the ball.
Yeah,
all
but the
year
thing with
long.
Walker has all the big games coming up. So
He
he has
does.
a lot more chance. He has a lot more chances to establish that so-called Heisman moment.
That is true. And later on in the year, there's more recency bias. So that's going to help him. But I don't think he's going to be able to run the ball that well because I don't think our offensive line is that good. Looking at a guy like Ohio State's going to have a ton of guys, but I just think they're all going to cancel each other out.
Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, everything CJ Stroud does, all the positives at the same time, are gonna be the same positives for Chris Olave and freaking what's his face there. So like when it comes to they don't. That's the problem a lot of these big schools have. Like Alabama. I mean, Alabama's had a couple running backs, but recently, I mean, they haven't really had many people. But that's just because they're so talented that no one has a standout year because everyone has good years. I mean, last year with Devontae Smith was a little bit of an exception because what's his face went out early, Jalen Waddle, so he didn't have to spread the ball out as much. But it was still the same kind of. There's a reason why most of the Heisman comes from that second tier schools.
Yep, and and Travion Henderson, it's 5 yards until anyone touches him off the line of scrimmage, which I don't think matters, but he's going to get canceled out by the other guys.
Well, it's like, and the thing is too, like the expectations for Ohio State running backs has been set. Like you should average at least 100 yards a game, and if like it's hard to be an impressive season.
I think Desmond Ridder has a shot, but I don't think he's going to play enough big games in the year. I think that's going to hurt him. I don't know. I don't have a great feel for it at this point. Usually you have a good feel for who the favorite is, but it's kind of wide open right now. I could see Kenneth Walker winning it if our offensive line gets better. I would say Bijan Robinson at this point just because he's already got the hype and he's going to rush for a ton of yards to end the year because they don't play great teams. But that might hurt him because they don't play great teams. So, and then I've seen people say, I'll just give it to the best player on the Georgia defense, but no one can even name anybody on Georgia's defense right now. So you can't give it to anybody there. I don't know, but a guy to watch out for is Cade McNamara.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, pick a game to discuss.
Mike, which game are you going to choose? I don't want to steal your game.
Oh, you can go. I don't care.
You're not gonna take the Oregon State game?
No, I'll pick a game.
I did have a game. Where is it? Oh, this Kentucky game I wanted to talk about if I can find it. Because what Mike Stoops has done at Kentucky is one of the most impressive. Mark Stoops, my bad. It's one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. I mean, obviously LSU's a little down this year, but beating LSU and Florida in back-to-back weeks, he's moved Kentucky from the bottom of the East to one of the top teams in the East every year. I mean, and they're doing it in a way with. I mean, it's almost like a little trestle ball where they just can. They're not necessarily dominating teams, but they're controlling possession. They're running. I mean, what was it, a couple years ago? They didn't have a quarterback, and they still made a bowl game. And it seems like they're ranked every year right now. I mean, whatever Kentucky can do to lock this guy up, they should do because he's going to be one of the hottest names on the market right now. And I'm just so impressed.
I'm going to go with Florida State and North Carolina. To me, this is the worst loss of the week for any team. To lose by 10 points to Florida State at home, team that was supposed to be a top 10 caliber team at the beginning of the season, is a disgrace and an indictment on Matt Brown.
And
you want to talk about another guy? You want to talk about another guy that's going to have to come back is freaking Sam Howell now. Him and Rattler have been the two most disappointing quarterbacks in recent history.
And North Carolina returns 20 of 22 starters, and they still suck. North Carolina makes no sense.
No, it's awful. Sam Howell's been terrible. It's too bad. Complete waste of talent. And I don't really know what's going on, but I think people need to start looking at Mac Brown. I was a big Mac Brown guy, but this is unacceptable.
Well, this is typical Mac Brown. I mean, did you expect?
Well, to be fair, 6-6 at UNC is good for football.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like this is my fear of Mel Tucker's hot start because Mac had a hot start in North Carolina, and then you have one down year, and maybe it hurts you a little bit. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe they'll be fine. It's just a down year for North Carolina, but yeah, disappointing.
The bigger problem in this game might be Mike Norvell because he's going to be on the hot seat quick, and it's not even his fault. They just have no talent.
No, I think they're going to give him a ton of time. Florida State's going to give Mike Norvell a ton of time. They would have fired him by now after losing to
They have
Jacksonville.
no talent. He needs to. I mean, he's only had 1 year to get some recruits, and it was a COVID year, so it's like for Mel Tucker, it's year -3. So they just have no talent.
Yeah, that's why Mel's the best coach in America. He's got no talent. He's still winning. That's how you coach right there. All right, my game. I would be talking about Oregon State, but we lost, so I'm not going to talk about Oregon State. I'll talk about my other team though. The Fighting Dave Warners, UTEP 26, Southern Miss 13. Do you know that UTEP is 5-1? This was a program just a couple years ago.
Are they going to win Conference USA, Mike?
I don't think so.
They're going to have a big rivalry game against UTSA.
Yeah, that's gonna be a hard game. But UTEP was one of the worst programs in college football just a couple of years ago, and in a couple of years they had an okay year last year. Dana DeMel, he's done a good job, but the real addition that's brought him over the top has been Dave Warner. We all know from his time at Michigan State that he's a great play caller, and they've been running the short side jet sweep to perfection at UTEP this year. And listen, that was a big upset win. Southern Miss is a really bad team. They've look at some of their results, losing 37-0 or 31-7 to South Alabama. Rice, yep. Whenever you lose to food, that's not a good thing. But that's a very good win for UTEP. They're 1 win away. They got to get one more. I think they'll be able to get it at some point.
They'll get it.
They play Louisiana Tech tomorrow. They're 6.5 underdogs.
They have North Texas and Rice.
Yeah. But anyway, I mean, it's gonna be fun. Dave Warner's doing a great job there, so I got to give him credit. Maybe we shouldn't have fired him. Just kidding. All right. We'll talk about the Big Ten midseason report cards. We'll just go through each team in the Big Ten here. We'll go from top to bottom on the standings. Number 1 in the Big Ten East right now, Michigan, because of alphabetical order.
Yeah, A-.
I agree. A-.
Yeah, A, because I don't think they can really do much more. Besides maybe beating Nebraska by more, I guess they could have done, or beat Rutgers by more, but they're doing a pretty good job. All right, Michigan State.
A+. I mean, how can it not be an A+ so far?
A+, but it's about to go down after they start losing to good teams.
Yeah, it's going to go from an A+ to an A tomorrow when we lose to Indiana. Yeah, I'll give us an A+. I'll give Mel Tucker an A+. All right, Ohio State.
A B to a B+.
B-. They've been very underwhelming, aside from that great win against Maryland.
Yeah, it'd be a D if it wasn't for the past couple weeks. They've moved it up to a C. I think if they beat these good teams, it'll keep moving up and up and up. But the expectations of Ohio State are just so high. All right, Penn State.
A-. It would be an A+ if they beat Iowa.
I agree. A-.
I'll give them a B+ because it's just so disappointing.
And off the field, when it comes to recruiting, they have the number 1 class right now.
Yeah, they do. And Penn State, they've taken care of business all year, and then they get disappointing loss to Iowa. So, I mean, it could be a little bit better. All right, Maryland.
A B to a B+ probably.
A. They fulfilled my goals. They're still going to go 8-4.
I mean, that West Virginia win looked really good. So I would have said A after 4-0. I think it's down to a B after, because I mean, you got to at least be competitive in either of those two games. So I'll say a B for Maryland right now. All right, Indiana.
D plus, C minus. I mean, Chris and I were saying before the year that they were going to struggle because of their schedule more than anything else, but it's still. I mean, they scored 6 points in their 2 conference games. That's just unacceptable.
Yeah, C minus. They played some good teams, but still not acceptable.
Yeah, I'll go with it. I'll go with an A plus.
There it is. Yeah.
No, I'll go with a C. Obviously, I mean, a lot of teams would be 2-3 with their schedule, but I mean, the way they played, the way they got thoroughly dominated against Iowa. You blow the 14-0 lead against Cincinnati. That was disappointing, and then you get shut out by Penn State. So yeah, I mean, if they were 2-3 and all 3 losses were close, you could maybe say, "Oh, B plus," even though they didn't win. But I mean, they've been blown out so far. So I'll go with a C. All right, Rutgers.
B or B plus. I know they're 0-3 in conference, but they're 3-3 overall. They'll be challenging for a bowl game, I think, going into the last couple of weeks of the year. Obviously, they probably play the hardest schedule out of anybody in the Big Ten, so I'm going to go with B plus.
Yeah, I'd B plus. I mean, they've played up Michigan State, and Ohio State in conference, so not much you can do with that.
Yeah, I agree. I'll probably go B plus because it was impressive the way they started the year. That win at Syracuse is actually looking a little bit better week by week. Syracuse lost to Florida State, but they beat a good Liberty team. I think it's a little bit better Syracuse team than we thought coming into the year. And then obviously you play those 3 teams back to back to back, and you're going to lose those games. So B plus for Rutgers. All right, out to the West, Iowa.
A plus.
A plus.
Yeah, A plus, but we'll see if that comes down a little bit once the law of averages starts hitting them. All right, now it's a big log jam after that. So we got Minnesota.
Yeah, maybe a B minus. They've had a weird year. Minnesota always has a weird year. I mean, good. They beat Purdue. They lose to Bowling Green. They beat Colorado. They play Ohio State tough. I know they're missing their best player, but I don't know. B minus.
Yeah, they get a D. You can't lose to Bowling Green.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'll go with a C. I mean, the loss to Bowling Green is like 3 losses just on its own, but it only counts as 1. So you got to look at it that way. And it's not a conference game, so it counts as like 0.5 losses. Minnesota, they have some decent wins. That Purdue win, I mean, they got outgained by 200 yards, but they still won the game. They dominated a terrible Colorado team. They did what they had to do there. It's just been a tough year against the MAC. They almost lost to Miami of Ohio. They should stop scheduling MAC teams. I mean, what's going on there? Anyway, they got a tough game this week, but yeah, I'll go with a B minus, C, wherever I said it earlier. Purdue.
About a C plus, I'd say. You lose to Minnesota. You lose to Notre Dame. Arguably, you're supposed to lose both those games, and you win the games you're supposed to against Illinois, Uconn, and Oregon State. So I guess I'd go C plus.
Yeah, I think C plus. I mean, they competed a little bit with Notre Dame, so that was really the only positive you can take out of it.
I'm going to go with
an A plus. Mike's going to give him an A plus for beating Oregon State.
I wasn't even going to take that into account, but I mean, because Oregon State started the wrong quarterback in that game. So I'm going to go B, solid B. Out of conference schedule was tough. They had a chance against Notre Dame. They kind of let that get away. This Purdue's offense is just bad. They haven't scored over 13 points since they played Uconn in week 2. We got to see improvement there. But you know, they're still on track to maybe make a bowl game. They should beat Northwestern. They already beat Illinois. That was a tough game, but they beat Illinois, beat Northwestern. The Minnesota win might come back. The Minnesota loss might come back to hurt them at the end, but they still got chances. It's a tough schedule though. They got Michigan State and Ohio State from the other side, so we'll see how they play. All right. Next we got Wisconsin.
0. I'm F. Like whatever lowest grade you can give them is what you give them. This has been an utterly disappointing season.
F.
Yep, F. And this is hot seat stuff here. I mean, this is bad, really bad from Wisconsin. All right, Illinois.
C minus, D plus, I guess. I mean, they didn't have very high expectations, but how can you give them anything more? I mean, they've had 2 winnable games in conference. I mean, at least they beat Nebraska, but you lose to Maryland and Purdue. I mean, they were close, but I mean, you can't give them anything other than a low score.
I'll go D plus, really only because of that win over Nebraska.
Yeah, it'd be an F if the Nebraska game didn't happen because this is an experienced roster. Obviously, it's a completely different psychological physiography, whatever we want to call it. It's a different offense, a different team that Brett Bielema has compared to Lovie Smith, but I mean, it's very disappointing. And it'd be an F if they did somehow beat Nebraska. Speaking of Nebraska, here they are.
I don't C plus maybe. I mean, you lose to Illinois, which is horrible, but you've been playing all these teams tough, and you just haven't been able to turn them into wins. I think if they make a bowl game, get to 7 or 8 wins, I think it'll be a successful year. So I'll give them a C plus right now, I guess.
D. I mean, too many winnable games they left on the table.
Yeah, that's true.
It's got to be an F because this is a results-based game here. And I think they've proven they can beat a lot of teams in the Big Ten, but you got to go out and do it. You got to go out and play the games and win them. And they haven't been able to do it. That Illinois loss is the most embarrassing loss. That might be more embarrassing than Minnesota losing to Bowling Green. I mean, that's really bad. That game has really not aged well whatsoever. And I think Nebraska, they're probably still going to make a bowl at like 6-6, but this is a probably 9-3, 10-2 football team. There's no excuse to be 6-6 with this team. All right, Northwestern.
F. D. Just there's been no positives this year, especially after the last year.
F.
I'm going to go D. That's just they return nobody. They're getting experience at least in these games, and maybe in next year or the year after, maybe they'll be ready to do what Northwestern usually does. But they're just not ready. All right, let's move on to the basketball poll came out last week. And Michigan and Purdue were tied at the top, and Ohio State, Maryland are in there too. So reactions from the basketball poll.
Yeah, Maryland's going to be underrated this year going into the year, but Ohio State is being absolutely disrespected. You're bringing back the most talent in the Big Ten. They lose one guy. They bring in a couple transfers that are going to help the team. And I think Ohio State's, in my opinion, they're favorites for the league this year.
I mean, I think the poll is decent. I think Michigan, Purdue, Ohio State, and Maryland are the class of the conference in my mind. I really don't understand the hype with Illinois. I don't get it at all. I think they're going to take a massive step back. I think they're wildly underrated. Well, they lost their only good player. So
they got Cockburn.
He's not good. He's just big. Michigan State, I think, is
that's
also
that's like saying a guard isn't good. He can just shoot. Like that's part of the game. Like being big is part of the game. Yeah, but that's part of it.
Michigan State, I think they're probably number 5 because Illinois should be below them, so they're probably appropriately ranked here. Indiana is ridiculously overrated once again. They're not good. They're not going to be good. They have no chance to be good. They have a new head coach, and once again, they're overrated. Number 7 is way too high. This team is not going to be good.
Well, they got Miller Kopp.
I don't care who they got. They're
Who
not
else
good.
do they got? Rob Finney.
Yeah, wow.
Is he back for his 20th year there?
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, my reactions are I think the Big Ten is not nearly as deep as it was last year. I think once you get past Rutgers, I don't think Iowa's going to be very good. I don't think Wisconsin's going to be very good. And then you got the teams at the bottom, which are just bad. Northwestern, I think, can take a step up this year.
Yeah, Northwestern's going to be a little bit underrated too. I mean, they might be able to sneak into the tournament.
All right.
It's a rebuilding year for Penn State and a complete and utter just demolishment year for Minnesota. Just everybody left there. So at the top, Michigan, Purdue. I think Purdue is overrated. I don't think they're that great. I think they're a solid team. They're probably going to be 4 or 5 seed in the tournament, but they're not going to win the Big Ten. I think Jaden Ivey's overrated. He was good last year, but I mean, he wasn't that good. I think Illinois is probably the second team. Then Purdue's in third. I have Michigan number 1. They have a good blend of experience and young players. Then Ohio State. Ohio State's going to be good. They're going to be right there. I think the top 4 or the top 5 is probably separated themselves right now. And then maybe Indiana, Rutgers, and then maybe Michigan State. I put them number 8 right now. I mean, Izzo's making all these.
I honestly thought you put this on here just so you could rant that Izzo needs to be fired.
I mean, Izzo's been bragging about how great Max Christie is, but I don't trust a word this guy says, because he said that Joey Hauser is going to be our best player last year. So I mean, I don't know if it's true. I hope that Max Christie is going to be a great player for us. I hope he can really help us. But I don't know. I think if there's a good chance, not a good chance, but there's a chance we can have one of the better backcourts in the Big Ten. And I think that's going to help us later in the year. But we still got no post presence. I think we got good post defense, but our post presence, we have none of it. I think Tyson Walker is going to be an upper tier Big Ten point guard this year, but he might not even start game 1. So thanks a lot, Tom. How about you get out there and play your best players, please? And we don't need to be playing walk-ons against Kansas in the Champions Classic like he does every freaking year. Anyway, because pencil that down as a loss, because Izzo, he just refuses to try in that game. But anyway, we got the top 5, and then I think 1 through 8. I think they're probably going to get 8 teams in the tournament this year. Michigan State will probably be the last team to get in, probably a 10, 11 seed. All right. Michigan will probably be a 1 or 2. Ohio State, Illinois, Purdue, probably 2 to 4. That type of. And Maryland's up there too. It'll probably be 4 or 5. But they got a lot of people that have to gel. All right. We got one game to preview. Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State on a bye. So Michigan State with a trap game on the road at Indiana. For the old brass platoon.
Michigan State should win this game. It's not going to be. They're not going to have a huge score, but they should be controlling this game the entire way.
I actually do agree with Mike. This is a trap game. This is the first one that I have agreed with him on, just because their next game is Michigan. So yeah, I think it'll be close, but Indiana's not very good. So Michigan State will win. Close.
I've seen a number of people taking Indiana in this game.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
But this time, it's actually, regular analysts. I've seen my guy, Josh Pate, took Indiana to win the game. I saw the guy from the Michigan podcast took Indiana. And then his co-host too is, I counted it. He has picked against Michigan State in every game besides the Youngstown State game, picked Indiana. So that's a shocker there. But listen, Indiana, the spread's a little low. You probably expect it to be a little bit higher, but Indiana, they're 2-3 and they've lost 3 games, but I mean, all three of them were the top 10 teams. Iowa wasn't top 10 at the time, but they are now. Indiana is top 10. And Penn State's top 10. So, I mean, you certainly can't snooze your way through this game. That's for sure. I think Indiana's offense isn't great. I think our defense is going to play well. But I think Indiana's defense, I don't think they're as good as Nebraska, but I think they pose some problems, especially for our offensive line. I think it's going to be a hard-fought football game. And I don't think the trap game aspect is as big as it was last week, because I think, the spittoon really means something. It really does. And, that's a game we lost last year, a game we weren't even in. 24-0 loss at home. Use that as motivation. We got the revenge tour going here in East Lansing. We got to get another win and get the check on the revenge tour. So it's going to be close, very close game. I'll give you my pick in the picks. Speaking of the picks, let's go to the picks. We'll start tonight. Clemson at Syracuse.
Clemson.
Oh, I thought you were going to take Syracuse, Chris. What happened to that?
Yeah, I just recently changed my mind.
All right, I'm going to take Clemson also. I think they're going to win out. All right, Cal at Oregon.
Oregon.
Oregon. Why are we picking this game?
Because it's Pac-12 after dark tonight. Big game. And, I don't think Cal's very good. Watch out, Wilcox might be on the hot seat there. All right, Michigan State at Indiana.
Michigan State.
Michigan State.
Michigan State, 24-20. Oklahoma State at Texas.
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State.
Texas. All right, Auburn at Arkansas.
Arkansas.
Auburn.
Yeah, Arkansas. This is their fourth straight game against a ranked opponent.
Auburn's not ranked.
Well, whatever. Close enough. This is going to be a tough game because Auburn, even though they're not
either
ranked,
ranked or you're not ranked. You're not close enough ranked.
well, has Auburn got votes?
I don't know, but they're not ranked.
Then they're close enough to being ranked. I'm taking Arkansas, but it's going to be a close game. Florida at LSU.
Florida.
Yeah, this is the revenge shoe game. Florida. Nebraska at Minnesota.
Nebraska.
Nebraska.
This is one of those games where Nebraska wins by 30 or they lose outright. I'm going to take Nebraska. All right, Rutgers at Northwestern. This is going to be a tough game. Hard-fought game.
Rutgers. There's not even a line on this game.
Rutgers.
Yeah, that's because it was even last time I checked. So it might just be a money line bet there. I'm going to take Rutgers also. I think we played both.
Even.
Yeah, it is even. I'm going to take Rutgers. It's going to be a close game. This is going to be probably a 23-20 game.
It's going to be 27-22 Rutgers.
Yale at Uconn.
Jesus Christ.
Yale's actually favored according to FPI. So
yeah, I'll take Yale. Apparently has a 60% chance to win the game.
I'm going to take Yale. They played Holy Cross tougher than Uconn did.
Yeah, I'm going to take Yale. So I'm going to take Yale also. All right, Kentucky at Georgia.
Ooh, I guess I'll take Georgia.
Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia. BYU at Baylor.
Baylor, they've been playing well.
Baylor.
I was very disappointed in BYU last week. Okay, Miami at North Carolina.
UNC.
Yeah, North Carolina. Miami blows. They lost their quarterback for the year now. So sad that we had to knock him out.
He'll be back next year in a medical red shirt.
He'll be back. He might be back. All right, Pittsburgh at Virginia Tech.
Pittsburgh.
Virginia Tech.
Heisman favorite, Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, I think Pitt might be the most overrated team in the country. Listen, I like Pittsburgh, but they're favored in this game. I don't know if they should be. And they lost to Western Michigan. You you got to throw that. You can't throw that away, can you? I mean, I'm going to take Virginia Tech here. Arizona at Colorado, the battle for the worst team in the Big 12, the Pac-12 here.
Yeah, that's. I guess I'll take Colorado because they've won a game.
Colorado by about 40 points.
I like Don Brown, Jed Fish. I think Arizona's going to win. I just think Colorado is horrible.
No, it's because Mel
Like-
Tucker left him in shambles.
No, Arizona's bad, but at least the final scores they've put up are respectable.
Yeah,
Colorado,
Against
Yeah.
Northern Arizona.
Yeah, like losing 21-19 to Northern Arizona.
okay. I still think Arizona's better than Colorado. Colorado is a joke, complete joke. I'm going to take Arizona. All right, Alabama at Mississippi State.
I hate that you put this game on here. I'm taking Mississippi State.
Bama.
Will Rogers, baby.
Alabama. All right, Ole Miss at Tennessee.
Ole Miss.
Tennessee.
Yeah, I agree with Chris here. I think Tennessee's going to win the game. I do. I think Heupel's doing some great things there. It's going to be probably a 62-59 barn burner there. All right, NC State at Boston College.
BC.
Boston College. Look out for the Eagles. They're going 11-1.
NC State. All right, Iowa State at Kansas State.
Iowa State.
Iowa State.
I agree, Iowa State. Although I think if Iowa State loses this game, the season might fall off the rails. But I still think they got a glimmer of hope. They still got the Big 12 championship game to play for. And you never know, maybe the playoff. Probably not, but
All right.
you never know. Okay, UCLA at Washington.
UCLA.
UCLA.
Yeah, I like Washington in this game. I think UCLA is kind of overrated also. All right, Air Force at Boise State.
Boise State.
Boise State.
You never know with these triple option teams, though.
Yeah, I'll also take Boise State. All right, last game, Arizona State at Utah.
Arizona State. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I'll go with Utah.
Wow, that's ridiculous. Arizona State's the best team in the Pac-12.
Well, I was going to take Utah until Luke did. Now I'm going to take Arizona State.
It's a pick 'em
Why
game.
is UCF Cincinnati on here? I wanted to pick UCF.
You want to add it?
Yep.
All right, I'll take Cincinnati.
Who's
I'm
home?
taking UCF.
Is it UCF at Cincinnati?
Yep.
All right. Chris takes UCF. Luke takes Cincinnati.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Cincinnati. I think UCF is terrible. They lost to Navy. That's all you need to know. They lost to Navy. All right, and looking at the pick standings here, Chris is 4 games back. I'm 7 games back of Luke. Alex
Yeah,
is
that's right.
Alex.
93 games back. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Big Four Podcast. We'll see you next week.